séjour, mon Dieu, vers toi.
The House will come to order. This morning, the pledge will be given by Representative Alex Valdez. Representative Valdez, come on down.
All right, everybody, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Schiebel, please call the roll.
Representatives Bacon, AML Bacon,
Excused.
Barone, Basenecker, Bottoms, Bradfield, Bradley, Brooks, Brown, Caldwell, Camacho, Representative Camacho,
Excused.
Carter, Clifford, DeGraff, Duran, English, Espinoza, Foray, Flanell, Froelich, Garcia, Garcia Sander is excused. Gilchrist, Goldstein, Gonzalez, Hamrick, Hartsook, Jackson. She just walked out.
Excused.
Rep. Jackson's excused. Johnson, Joseph, Kelty, Leader, Lindsay, Representative Lindsay,
Excused.
Luck, Lukens, Mabry is excused. Marshall, Martinez, no. Representative Martinez,
He's right.
oh hi. Morrow, McCormick is excused. Wynn, Pascal, Phillips, Richardson, Ricks, Representative Ricks
Excused.
is excused. Rootenell, Representative Rootenell,
Excused.
Ryden, Sirota, Representative Sirota's here. Slaw,
Here.
Smith. Rep. Soper is in committee, right? Excused. Stewart K. Stewart R. Story. Sukla. Taggart. Titone. Valdez A. Velasco. Representative Velasco.
Excused.
Weinberg.
Here.
Wilford. Representative Wilford.
Excused.
Winter. Woodrow is excused. Woog. Zokai. And Madam Speaker is excused.
With 53 present, 12 excused, and 0 absent, we have a quorum. Representative Valdez.
Okay, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I move that the Journal of Tuesday, April 21st, in the year 2026, be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. And this one, for those of you who know, is for Carl. I want to hear a yes vote.
You have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The motion is adopted. Announcements and introductions, members. Announcements and introductions. Representative Johnson. And Representative Winter, AML Winter, excuse me. And Representative Sukla. I mean, whoever else wants to come up, go for it. Rep. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Want to remind everyone tomorrow is Sportsman's Day at the Capitol, meaning the wild game lunch will be tomorrow. You'll get flyers on your desk for the time. It's outside next to the West Steps. Please show up. It's going to be great food, free food. Don't pack your lunch tomorrow, and come talk with our sportsmen and sportswomen of the state.
AML Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Like my colleague said, come down and talk to the sportsmen and sportswomen. We understand how much and how important they are to our parks and the systems that we have in this state. The fees that they pay, the hunting license that they pay, they're really what keep our state parks beautiful, and they deserve the recognition for that. Also, there's a rumor that there's going to be a Perry Will sighting. I think that's incentive within itself to make sure you stop by. So we're getting cheers in the back. Love to see you all tomorrow.
Representative Johnson. Representative Sukla.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Reminder, on Monday is going to be Auctioneer Day. Please start thinking about what you want to donate. The more items that we have donated and the higher the items go, the more that our nonpartisan staff get, and they've been doing amazing this year. They've been putting in a lot more time than they did last year. So let's beat last year's number, and it's a great time to look at what auctioneers actually do.
Rep. Sukla.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. And I would like to say that the auctioneering profession is the second oldest profession in the world, and I'll leave it to your imagination what the first one is. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Joseph. Representative Joseph.
Hello, members. Hi. Today is Earth Day. Thank you. Today's Earth Day. Today we're having an Earth Day press conference. Please join us in the West Foyer, April 22nd, 2026 at 12 p.m. for a press conference highlighting Earth Day and the progress Colorado has taken for a cleaner world. Please be there at 12 o'clock if you can make it, and we also have some food down there. So come and spend time with us and enjoy some free food. Thank you.
Further announcements. Rep. Mabry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Judiciary Committee members, we're going to be meeting at 1:30 in the Old State Library. We are going to hear House Bill 1037 for action only, House Bill 1236 for action only, and Senate Bill 5. Old State Library today, 1:30.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. The House Education Committee will be meeting 10 minutes upon adjournment in room 107. We will be hearing Senate Bill 80.
Representative Gilchrist.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. The Health and Human Services Committee will be meeting at 1:30 to hear Senate Bill 006 and then Senate Bill 140.
Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Members of the Joint Technology Committee, join us at 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday morning, room 352. We're going to hear a presentation from SIPA, the Statewide Portal Authority, and we're going to have a committee bill draft discussion. And I also want to point out that I have some guests here in the room from the Colorado School of Mines. I have some students over here who are looking at what the policy stuff is, and I want to introduce them and make sure that you give them a hand for being here. We appreciate all of their work in science and STEM and engineering. So thank you very much.
Representative Garcia Sander.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. It is ACC Day at the Capitol, American Conservation Coalition. Just want to give them a shout out. They are over here on the right side, their left side. Let's give them a welcome.
Representative Hartsook.
Morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. We have up here in the gallery, at the top, we have some students here from the Israeli-American Council. If they'd stand and be recognized. Thank you so much.
Rep. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. There'll be no energy and environment today.
Further announcements and introductions. I have one. Reps Brown, Sirota, and Taggart are excused at such time as necessary for the Joint Budget Committee meeting. Representative Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, colleagues, I have a couple announcements here. If all the Jefferson County legislators could come down to the well, that would be great. And in the meantime, for business and labor, I would like to make an announcement. We will meet upon adjournment. We have one bill to hear, Senate Bill 26137, Measures to Reduce Administrative Burdens. It's a Coleman, Simpson, and McCluskey Caldwell bill. See you upon adjournment in room 0112.
Representative Leader.
Thank you. Colleagues,
Members. Sorry, Rep. Leader. Members, it's hard to hear from even the podium here. Please take your conversations off the floor. Representative Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that, I would just like to recognize the Jefferson County legislators. We are the best county here in Colorado. Come on down, Rep. Story. And I also want to recognize it's House District 28. We're kind of split up between up in the gallery and down here on the floor. If you all could stand up, and some of them are still missing, but they'll be here because we're having pizza in my office at noon, 1:30 for a tour for House District 28 of the Capitol. So welcome, please stand up and be recognized, and thank you for coming.
Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move that the following bills be made special orders on April 22nd, 2026. Thank you, members. Once again, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I move that the following bills be made special orders on April 22nd, 2026 at 9:20 a.m. House Bill 1132, House Bill 1130, Senate Bill 136, and House Bill 1287.
If there is no objection, the bills listed by the Majority Leader will be made special orders on April 22nd, 2026 at 9:20 a.m. Representative Ryden. Representative Ryden.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I move that the committee resolve itself.
House.
Committee of the whole resolve itself. Resolve ourselves in the committee of the whole for consideration of special orders.
Members, you've heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the House Representative Ryden will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen on iLegislate and in today's folder on your box account. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the majority leader, and that coat rule is relaxed. Oh, and members, if you could quiet it down, please. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Representative Froelich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is a pleasure to serve with you.
Ditto. Mr. Schiebel, would you read the title?
I move House
hold
Bill.
on. Representative Froelich, hold on just a moment. Mr. Schiebel, if you could read the title of House Bill 1132. Thank you.
House Bill 1132 by Representative Froelich, also Senator Kipp, concerning increasing pollinator habitats on lands in the state.
Representative Froelich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's still a pleasure to serve with you. I move House Bill 1132, the Approps and Agriculture Committee reports. Finance? Oh, and Finance.
And Finance.
No,
Yep.
Finance. Finance.
All right, to the
All
committee
right.
report.
In Finance Committee, they kindly allowed us to go forward, and because we don't cost any money. So I ask for an aye vote.
All right, is there any further discussion on the committee report? All right, seeing none, the question before us is passage of the committee report to House Bill 1132. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All right, the ayes have it. The finance report is adopted. To the next committee report. Representative Froelich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the House Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, the bill was well received. We adopted an amendment to make sure that CPW and all of the initials folks were on board, and we asked for an aye vote.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is passage of the committee report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. All right, the ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Froelich.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm pleased to be joined by Rep. Lindsay on this bill. This comes from many, many years of work trying to support pollinators who are just awesome, tiny animals in our state, and the recommendations from our pollinator study, one of which, probably the signature piece of this bill, is to encourage the planting of native plants on all of our public lands. And so we ask for an aye vote.
Okay. Representative Lindsay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'm super excited about this bill. If anybody has kids and has seen the Bee Movie 5 million times, that was my first introduction to the importance of pollinators. Bees play a huge part in that. Butterflies, obviously, beetles, ladybugs. If this collapses, so too does most of our food system. So it's really important that we're encouraging this. I also serve on the Capital Development Committee, and we talk a lot about when new projects are coming, how we can make sure that they are adhering to better standards. And so on places that are redoing landscaping, what better time to do natural Coloradoscapes, as we like to call them, that support the ecosystem that's so critical to even us. So we urge an aye vote.
Okay, any further discussion on the bill? Seeing Representative Kelty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think my question on the bill is about the fiscal note. So I'm going over the fiscal note, and it's quite hefty, but I'm sure there's a reason for that. I was wondering if the bill sponsors could explain that one for me just a little bit more, because money is my thing, and I don't like spending it. So,
Representative Froelich.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. So this is work that the Department of Natural Resources, and particularly CPW, will be undertaking. They have a continuously appropriated funds that go to CPW and DNR, and so they're using those continuously. It's GOCO, lottery money, and then it's the money from the oil and gas fee that already are going in, which is why there's no appropriation, because it's money going in, and it's simply the department saying, oh yeah, we've been wanting to do this, and we're going to use those funds we have that are coming in. So that's why they're putting a price tag on it, but they're also saying we have the money to do it.
Representative Kelty. will it take away from any other programs or anything like that?
Representative Froelich.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. So that's what the Appropriations and Finance Committee discussion was sort of about, and CPW has a memo and came to say this is kind of what in line with what we wanted to do and what we were planning on doing.
Any further discussion on the bill? All right, seeing none, the question before us is passage of House Bill 1132. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1132 passes as amended. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1130.
House Bill 1130 by Representatives Story and Jackson, also Senators Cutter and Judah, concerning baby diaper changing stations in restrooms accessible to the public.
All right, Representative Jackson, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to move House Bill 1130
All right.
and the committee report.
Can you, okay, please take back that.
I move House Bill 1130.
All right. Representative Jackson to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Story?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We move L019 to the to House Bill 1130 and ask that it be properly displayed.
All right, give us just a moment. All right, that's properly displayed. Representative Story, tell us about your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The amendment exempts local government from the bill. It expands criteria for small business, and it clarifies designation of restrooms, and we urge an aye vote.
All right, there's no any further discussion on the amendment. All right, Representative Brooks.
Chair, thank you. So just so I have clarity, just been very interested to see what amendments will be brought back after this has been put on pause for as long as it has. So this is simply just exempting businesses that have only 25 or fewer employees and government agencies. I know we like to make sure that whatever we do doesn't impact government. Because God forbid, you know, we all play by the same rules. But I just want to make sure the 25. I would be really interested to see how, you know, these amendments play out, given the pause that we've had to be able to work on them.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to my colleague from Douglas County. The reason this has taken so long is because we have really been intentional about engaging all stakeholders. We really have been working hard to bring everyone to the table to make sure that we have something that works for everyone. And so if you read the amendment, when we're regarding small businesses, it's an employer with 25 or less employees and generates no more than $3.5 million annually. So that really is a large carve out for our small business community, as well as our public entities, and you can see the definition up on the board.
Further discussion on the amendment? All right, seeing none, the question before us is adoption of L019 to House Bill 1130. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. Ooh, all right, the ayes have it. The amendment is adopted to the bill. Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've talked about this bill prior. There's not a lot of new information. We have continued to do stakeholding and have been working to accommodate stakeholders in their requests. We think this is a good bill, and we urge an aye vote.
All right, is there further discussion on the bill? Representative Woog.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And exempting, you know, I do appreciate the sponsors taking out the small businesses. That's definitely an issue. And I just thought of an example. I was actually out to lunch last week at one of my favorite spots around here, La Pasadita, and I think the bathroom's about as deep or long as this podium here. And as I walked out of there, I'm thinking, there's no way, and I was thinking about that, I was like, there's no way you could put a changing station in here. So that's a positive. And I want to reiterate, I actually know someone that works for a company that would or will install these, and it is around $1,500. And I've had people say, oh, $200 to install these. That's not true. There's a liability. To think of the walls, how thick they are, the anchoring, the liability that they have because, God forbid, one of these falls out when someone's baby is on it. So they are not as cheap as $200 or $300. This is an expense. So that being said, the bill ultimately, though, again, picking winners and losers is ultimately, it's just a mandate businesses don't need. I mean, I fully believe there are plenty of businesses out there that can and would do it if that becomes an issue and someone comes up to them and asks for that. I think some will do that willingly and be happy to do that. But the reality is, again, just mandating something that's not a need, it's a want. And also, the people that are the customers that are going to these places of business or offices, they can go somewhere else if that's a big, big thing to them. It's choice, it's freedom. We don't need these businesses to be mandated to put in a baby changing station. As nice as that sounds, ultimately, whatever size the business, it's a mandate and they're gonna have to fund it and get it done. So I will still be a no, and this is just a really glaring example of one of the many bills that goes after businesses in general in this state, and I'm frankly just beyond tired of it, so I urge a no vote.
Okay. Representative Brooks.
Chair, thank you. I echo the comments of my good colleague here. I have some concerns that go beyond just the unfunded mandate piece that we're putting on businesses. Yet another way, I know we love it. We love it. We love us some regulation. Oh, boy, howdy. We love us some regulation. Here we go again with our regulation. Here we go with our unfunded mandates, and we're going to press things down. Now, I do appreciate the carve out for the small businesses, right? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Or in the case of my second complaint about this, it's really just the tip of the methberg, because the issue with a lot of these areas. And folks, you can think that I am acting in great frivolity. However, I am not. All across the Front Range, it's a fact. You can look it up if you choose to want to base your opinion on facts. It's in multiple news agencies. Multiple stories have been reported about areas that have had to close their public restrooms. They've had to remove baby changing tables. Why? Because of contamination with methamphetamine. You can look it up. I'm waiting. Y'all can look it up. It is a real thing. All throughout the Front Range, what we have been doing with the little baby changing tables is providing a nice, convenient surface for people to do their drugs on. And you want to go and you want to change your baby on the table where it is 15 times more contaminated than what's allowed with methamphetamine. I am willing to give a path that there's an intent here that's pure to make sure that parents have a place to be able to take care of changing their babies. I get that. I do not like the push down yet again on businesses. However, I really have a hard time when we're ignoring what has happened. Methamphetamine use rampant in the news. You can look it up. I didn't just come up here and create it. Colorado Sun's reported on it. I'll give you my phone if you would like my phone. You might have to get through a paywall. Yeah, I might have to get through a paywall. But if you do, if anybody had any doubt whatsoever about the authenticity of the words which I speak, All you have to do is spend 5 seconds on your little handheld computer and say, is Rep Brooks full of nonsense when he says that methamphetamine levels have been found on baby changing tables? And you'd be like, oh my goodness, well, he sure isn't. There's 1 story, there's 2 stories, there's 3 stories, there's 4. And when there's 4, you know there's more. Methy babies. I don't want methy babies. That's what we're doing here. We're gonna put all of this on our little changing tables. A growing danger in public restrooms. Actually, you know what the remediation is? It's also in one of the stories, if we care to do some research. The remediation is somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000. 10 and 30 grand to remediate meth contamination in a bathroom. As much of a problem as it has been reported as facts show that it has been with methamphetamine alone. I think we all probably understand that there has been a growing concern, a growing epidemic with fentanyl in this state, actually across the country. This state was particularly profound as well. We have a fentanyl problem in this state. Can you imagine that if you go into an average test, you go in and you test a baby diaper changing table and it is 15 times higher than the allowed amount for meth contamination? Can you imagine what happens if somebody is cutting lines or doing anything that involves fentanyl and you put your baby on it? You know, there are police officers that when they inhale fentanyl from a vehicle stop, from transporting, that you have to have Narcan to be able to revive the police officers just from a simple little dust. You want to put your baby on a baby changing table that contains fentanyl? Goodbye, baby. Goodbye, baby. Baby's going to be gone. We already know that we've got an issue with methamphetamine on baby changing tables and in the restrooms. Interesting enough, the surface of the baby changing table, contaminated with methamphetamine, you'd think that, okay, well, there's something in this bill that says that they must be sanitized. Problem is, you can't just take a Clorox wipe and wipe down the methy baby table and think that it's good. It's not good. You've got to change out the drywall, you've got to change out the vents, you've got to change out the fans, you have to close your public restroom completely and spend, as a business, $10,000 to $30,000 to effectively remediate this issue. Why did this bill sit on the sidelines for a month? That's bad policy. Why did this bill sit out away from this well for a month? Because it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea from yet another mandate we're putting on businesses. It's an even worse idea if we want to put our babies on tables that are contaminated with methamphetamine. Show of hands, quick survey. Anybody want to put their baby on a methy table? I don't see any hands. Nobody wants to put their baby on a methy table. I don't want to put my baby on a methy table. I don't have babies anymore. I wouldn't put my grown adult son on a methy table. Folks, I am taking a path of trying to use a little humor to point out a problem that has been reported time and time and time and time again in the news. I say it, and literally what I get over here is a head shake. No, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because you don't want it to exist? No, it exists. Do some research. It takes about 15 seconds on the little handheld computer. It's awesome, the technology we have today, to be able to look something up and find some truth. I understand that sometimes the truth doesn't have any place in our policy. I think it's a good idea to occasionally inject some truth and occasionally inject some research into what we're doing here. And the research shows that this is a bad idea because of the repeated use and the repeated instances of businesses that have had to take these tables out of their restrooms because of the contamination from methamphetamine on the tables and on the use of those tables. You shake your head no and pretend it's not true. Man, I wish it was that easy. I wish it was that easy to say, nah, I don't like that, it ain't true. I wish it was that easy. Problem is, yeah, it's true. And yeah, it's happening. And businesses have been taking these baby changing tables out because it's happening. We've got an issue. And because we want to virtue signal to mothers and fathers that need to change their babies, what message is it sending to say, hey, you know what, we did this for you, but we don't really care so much if your baby gets contaminated with methamphetamine? It's a bad idea on businesses. It's even a worse idea for the health of our children. Vote no.
Hey, Representative DeGraff.
Wow. Methy babies. So we had this thing on this weird document, and I know it's strangely prohibitive, but it's called the Constitution. And the 10th Amendment, often referred to as abbreviated as 10A, limits federal government to its specifically enumerated powers. Colorado has a different framework, but the provisions in Colorado, Article 2, Section 1, all political powers vested and derived the people, the government, the rights originates from the people, and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. This is not for the good of the whole. This is at the expense of some for the good of others. So this is not a broad base. This is something that what I would classify as the Karen state, the C-A-R-E'-N state, that somehow there's some sort of virtue in caring about stuff more than feeling like you care about stuff more than others. This is another Fees for Feels program. I feel that this would be a good thing to have. Therefore, I will fee it. Oh, I can't fee it because I can't produce another enterprise right now. But what we'll do is we'll impose on the citizens of Colorado yet another unfunded mandate. Now, I think it should be like anybody that gets stuck with this unfunded mandate should go back to the original discussion that we had on this, because the sponsors stated very clearly that the intent of this bill was not to cost any more than about $250. So I think if somebody gets a quote and they say it's going to be over $250, then they can go and they can reference what the sponsors have said, and they can say, well, then it's over $250, and the sponsors said it shouldn't cost more than $250, so therefore we're exempt. I think so. Make sure you do that. Mark the tape, as we say in aviation. So mark the tape. But we have these things where we are supposed to be working for the entire good of the entire state, not taxing some, because again, what that unfunded mandate is another tax. It is a tax. It is you require the sponsors requiring the General Assembly, if you sign on to this nonsense, it is requiring that the citizens of Colorado remit a certain amount of money in order to pay for something that the General Assembly just has a good warm fuzzy about. Now, we should not be legislating on warm fuzzies. We should not be imposing fees for the feels. I feel this is good, therefore I will impose it. I will set up a mandate. If a good intention was a good idea, it wouldn't need a gun. So it's kind of funny to me that this warm, fuzzy feeling ultimately comes with the force of the police state behind it. And you can say all you want, that's not the intent, but that's ultimately the reality, because you're putting something into law. You're putting something into law that those businesses have to comply with it. They have to spend the money. If they don't spend the money, they're going to have somebody come and shut down their business. If they don't comply with that, shutting down their business or paying some fee or going to court, they're going to incur somebody coming after them and ultimately enforcing their law. Now, if you don't know, most law enforcement carry guns. So yes, this is another good intention. That's not a good idea because it ultimately needs the force of a gun behind it. So baby changing tables and the coercion of law should not be something that goes together. And that's what this bill puts together. It puts parenthood together with the coercion of the state. So we need to go back to making sure that we don't do these silly kind of bills that are just imposing fees for the feels of a few, and make sure that we're governing on behalf of everybody. And you know that it's expensive because what happened is that the sponsors exempted the government. So where the government can actually act, and where the government is authorized to act, and where the government is authorized to lead in this realm, and to say, look, we have led in this realm. That means you're going in advance. If you're leading, you're going in advance. This is a dictate. This is a dictate based on feels. Dictators dictate. That's how that works. Leaders lead, dictators dictate. This is a dictate. You will do this because it makes us feel good. We will take your money because it makes us feel good. That's what this is. There's really no way to get around it. So this is maybe the good intention is a good idea. If it was, it wouldn't need a gun. So if you have to coerce people into doing this, then I think the answer is obvious, and that this General Assembly needs to stop imposing taxes, because this is ultimately a tax, whether you do it or not. Whether you impose, it is a government mandated extraction of funds from the citizens of Colorado. And I will note that it does not have approval from the voters. Because if you're going to, oh wait, we're not going to take money from our general fund, we're just going to take the money directly from the pockets of the citizens of Colorado, so that's okay. That's okay. So not this side, but this side is ever reaching deeper and deeper into the pockets of the citizens of Colorado to grab whatever they can find there, literally. This is a bad idea on many levels. Not just for this, the methy baby tables, but it's a bad idea for precedent. Because there's no limit to the amount of feel-good stuff that you're obviously willing to impose on the citizens of Colorado by extracting dollars out of their pockets, reaching deeper and deeper into their pockets. Stop. Colorado has a spending problem.
Representative DeGraff, can you come back to the bill, please?
I am on the bill, but yeah, we're talking about imposing the cost of these baby changing tables, whether they're $1.50, $250, or $15,000. We're talking about imposing these costs on the citizens of Colorado. Those costs are passed down from whatever business into higher prices. And so this is ultimately a tax on the citizens of Colorado who will pay for these. It is not an approved tax, it is just a tax. So this is, I think, a violation of our Taxpayer Bill of Rights, and I know that you don't want to have the Taxpayer Bill of Rights because you would prefer just to have a tax. And I think the purpose of spending is taxation to make sure that nobody has any extra money. So citizens of Colorado, if you want to know what's going to happen without the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, this is an example. They are going to reach deeper into your pockets to pay for all their fields, and there is no shortage of fields in this building. Stop the Fees for Fields program. Vote no on this bill.
Representative Kelty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And boy, let's crack this baby open. I actually, unfortunately, was on the committee that this was heard on. I had to fill in, and I heard it all. And let me tell you, and it wasn't pretty. So let's start out with this right here. Let's start out with Colorado being the 6th most regulated state, and apparently we're going for number one. In 2024-26, by the Colorado Chamber of Commerce, ranks Colorado as the 6th most regulated state in the United States, with over 205 state-level restrictions. The analysis, which highlights a 7.1% rise in business restrictions between 2020 and 2023. It says Colorado is among the top regulated states with significant restrictions on businesses, 6th regulated state as of 2024, continuing into 2025. Now, mind you, in mid-2024, we were the 12th most regulated state. So since mid-2024 and today, we have jumped up from 12th to 6th. Let that sink in. And you wonder why businesses are shutting down, why businesses are leaving, why corporations are literally fleeing Colorado. We have lost near 36,000 jobs out of Colorado. 36,000 jobs. That is something we should not be proud of, and not in any way, shape, or form. This is probably one of the most anti-business bills I think I have seen in a very long time. And I sit in on the Business and Labor Committee. I understand having a mother heart and wanting a feel-good bill, and this makes you feel good. But the logic is not there. And we heard it in committee. From business owner to business owner to business owner, they're saying we cannot afford this. And to say it's only $200 per business, that's false. It's anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000 per installation, per bathroom, per floor, per business. Let that sink in. You have these small businesses that can barely make ends meet as it is, because we keep taxing them and feeing them and driving them out of business as it is. And you're going to put this extra burden on businesses in a mandatory way, saying you will do this. We will dictate this to you. This is how you're going to run your business. This is what the free market is for. The free market allows a business owner to have their business and do with it what they feel that their customers require. And if they decide that they don't want these changes, as we've seen and heard, and you can quickly Google it, meth baby tables, they don't want these, and they don't want the burden and the added insurance that's going to cost, added risk it's going to cost to them to have these in their business, or even the space, or the money, or any of that. They don't want it in their business. It's their business. It's not our business. It's their business. And if they don't want the customers to come in that require these, it's up to them. So a customer has the choice whether to use that business or not. And if they say, oh, they don't have a baby changing table, I'm not going to give them my money, I'm not going to give them my business, that's up to the customer. And it's up to the business to change their business model to attract whatever customers they want into their business. Most businesses do not budget for this, and to demand this immediately on them is ridiculous. They have 1, 2, 5-year plans. And you're saying, you know, we don't care about that. You're going to do this hell or high water. We're going to take your money. You're going to make you spend your money on something that we want to feel good about. That's ridiculous. Are we not in the United States of America where we're supposed to be free? This is ridiculous. And then on the fiscal note, get this. On the fiscal note, it was originally going to cost $2.1 million. Want to know why? Because it was also including universities and state buildings and government buildings throughout Colorado. And then they realized, oh no, that's going to cost a fiscal note. So we're going to exempt the state buildings. We're going to say, you know what, it's good for thee, but not for me. Oh, okay. Make that make sense. So we're going to force this mandate on all of our businesses across Colorado. You will do this. But we're not going to. I think this is egregious. Absolutely egregious. We have businesses leaving, fleeing Colorado, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. After all this that we see going on with our business in Colorado, you know what? Please go to a state that's going to appreciate you. Please go to a state that's going to let you live your life the way you want to, run your business the way you want to run your business. Because Colorado's not going to let you. Nope, they're not going to let you at all. Bills like this, it's embarrassing. We cannot run and put out law off of feelings and feel-good measures. It either has to match facts and data, it has to make logical sense. This does not. This makes heart sense, but not logical sense. Leave it up to the businesses. Let the free market dictate what happens with their business. You say, oh, well, it'll help them, have more customers come through the door. Well, that's up to them. It's not up to you. Who are you to tell me what to do with my life, my children, my family, my home, now the business? This is not the free state of Colorado. This is the dictatorship state of Colorado. This is a shameful bill, and I'm hoping everyone will gain some logic today and votes this down. Vote for freedom. Vote no on this bill.
Representative Richardson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, colleagues. And I have no doubt that the sponsors are trying to address what they see is a problem. And as legislators, the only tool we have to address problems, at least in this chamber, other than just talking to people and encouraging good behavior, is to write legislation and try to pass bills. So I understand why this is a bill, because that's our tool to address issues. But I do think it's unfortunate the bill is kind of symbolic of larger issues that we have in this building. We're trying to mandate what is truly a courtesy. It's a good business practice. It's something that actually most publicly facing businesses actually provide to their customers because it's the right thing to do. And there's probably some that do not, and that impacts their relationships with their customers. And if it becomes enough of an issue, they will provide this service. I don't think we need a bill to do so. It's been addressed before, but I do think it is a bad look that we carved out government agencies at all levels. It's fiscally responsible of us to carve out government. It's fiscally responsible when we have no money to not make this a priority in our own government buildings, though most government buildings I've been in already have changing stations, so it's kind of moot. But to then come back and say that we're going to make it a priority for private businesses when we're not willing to do so for ourselves, I just think is a very bad look for this chamber. And then I do have just to note and perhaps question, I appreciate the amendment to define what a small business is in terms of this bill, but I'm not sure why we had to define small business in a manner that's different than how we've generally defined small businesses as less than 50 employees in this state for other purposes. Because when you go back to the bill itself, what we've carved out and exempted is a building that's owned or managed by a small business, now defined as 25 employees or less, and making less than $3.5 million gross per year, but also has an occupancy of less than 25 people, and I'm not sure why the 25 people occupancy is magic. You could have a 5-person coffee shop that seats 26 people and grosses much less than $3.5 million, and they're exempt, but I don't see what that adds to the bill. This definition that we adopted in the amendment really doesn't provide any change to the bill. The true trigger is the occupancy level of 25 people or less. So I don't think that amendment did anything to strengthen this. I do think the amending out of our public businesses really says this isn't a priority for us. We're just making it a priority for you. Again, overall, it's not a tremendously impactful bill because most businesses already do this, but it is symbolically a horrible direction to go in, and I will be a no vote today. Thank you.
Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And let's definitely talk about the business impact. As a small business owner that has been affected by policies in this state, maybe if we talk numbers, maybe if we talk jobs, maybe it will get through to the people of Colorado. 98 companies have left or expanded elsewhere since 2019 in the state. 98 companies. That's almost 14,000 jobs lost. So what does that mean according to dollars? Average wage in Colorado in the private sector is about 65 grand. Multiply that times $14,000, that's $950 million per year in lost wages. That's about $1 billion per year in lost payroll. Over 5 to 6 years, that's $4 to $6 billion in cumulative lost economic activity. Lost tax revenue, income tax plus sales tax for those workers, rough estimate 50 to 100 plus million per year in lost state and local revenue. And each job supports local businesses, restaurants, retail services, housing demand, supply chain. Economists typically use a 1.5 to 2.5 time multiplier, meaning total economic impact is likely 1.5 billion to 2.5 billion per year in lost economic activity. Long-term structural losses, loss of headquarters jobs, higher paying decision-making roles, reduced capital investment, fewer future expansions, declining corporate tax base. We're losing jobs. We're losing companies. 98 companies have left our state since 2019. We're the 6th most regulated state. After this year, we might be top 3. I know this seems like a small bill, but the small businesses, especially in rural Colorado, the small coffee shops trying to stay above water are sick of what we're doing in this building. Why can't we just go in and ask them, hey, I don't want to change my baby on the floor. Do you mind putting in a diaper changing station? What happened to communication? We had a representative from Jeffco who asked a local coffee shop to do it. I asked a local sandwich shop to do it, and they put them in. They put a diaper changing station in. Heck, we're not even going to let the taxpayers come into this building and have a diaper changing station because we took state buildings out of this bill. So again, rules for me, not for thee. So taxpayers, we're going to put this on businesses, but you still come to the Capitol to visit and you got to change your baby on the floor. Because we're going to carve the state buildings out that you visit, that you pay taxes to. You get to change your babies on the floor because we're going to carve them out. But all the small businesses, we're going to regulate on top of because that's how we do business in this Golden Dome. We regulate on small businesses. We carve out the others that we don't want to have a fiscal note impact for. It's wrong. It's not okay. This bill should be postponed. It's not good policy. I've had to kill 2 of my bills. Good policy and good governance is postponing bills that have bad policy, not trying to keep amending it to make a square peg fit through a round hole. So we're going to regulate small businesses. We're going to drive more businesses out of Colorado, and with that goes money in the billions of dollars that could be spent on businesses and hotels and restaurants because we won't let the free market do what the free market does so well. If coffee shop A doesn't have a diaper changing station and coffee shop B does, then more people with babies will go to coffee shop B. That's called the free market. That's what the free market does. We don't regulate and strangle small businesses. We let the free market work. And a mature adult goes to coffee shop A and says, hey, you will have more business if you just put a diaper changing station in here. And the owner of coffee shop A says, oh my God, you're right. Let me put one in there. That's how mature people do business. We don't regulate 600 laws on the small businesses of Colorado. Still a bad bill. Vote no.
Representative Garcia-Sander.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wasn't actually planning on coming up to talk to this, but a lot of you know that I really just rely on a lot of personal experience. And last night, the Greeley Facebook page chatter was all about bathrooms and accessibility. And there's a certain drugstore that's a very well-known drugstore that has closed their bathrooms now. And the reason given was that there are just too many rules to follow to have public restrooms. And so I think it's important that people remember that in addition to the statistics that the good representative from Douglas County just cited around Colorado being the sixth most regulated state, the growth rate of our regulations, there's a 2.4% increase in regulations that surpasses the average growth rate of federal regulations. We have more regulations, we're growing faster in regulations than the federal government. That's crazy. And the fact that our local drugstore is saying we no longer have a public bathroom because of regulations and rules is really too bad, because those are places that if you used to be standing in line, you used to be buying something there, it might say, must be a customer to use. That's no longer accessible, and that's really a disservice to our public. So this is just one more regulation that I think puts our businesses in the place that they just don't want to be in that place of providing customer service anymore. And that's unfortunate, because it's not that they don't want to, it's that because rules and regulations make it too difficult to. I encourage a no vote on this.
Representative Winter. Assistant Minority Leader Winter, apologies.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. My colleagues have belabored a lot of the points, and I won't reiterate them. The issue I have is right now the state is in a self-inflicted budget crisis that we've been talking about not only this year, but through last special session and the year before. And now that structural deficit is hit, and it's hit rock bottom of the piggy bank. And what makes this really hard is not only the state, but legislators in this building have realized that the budget crisis that the state's in, so that's why government was taking out of this bill because it would drive a fiscal note if government buildings had to do the same. But our businesses are in the same type of fiscal pinch and fiscal crisis. And so we're okay with saying, well, the state, because of our fiscal crisis, we have to tighten our belt, and we, within our own budget, cannot afford to put these changing stations in government buildings. But those of you on the outside looking in, you have to tighten your belt as well, but we're going to mandate this on top of you. We say it all the time from the well. This is the sixth most over-regulated state. You've had the business community come out and say, please stop, we're bleeding businesses left and right. You have businesses just running from the state. We can't get new businesses to come in. And at the end of the day, it hurts employees and it hurts wages. And that's what's frustrating to me is when the government pushes down on the market, and these businesses, the pressure has to be relieved somewhere, so they're going to more business-friendly states. We're over-regulating. It's hard to see. And at the end of the day, we hear people always talking about fighting and trying to help the little guy, but when you do things like this, the smaller places have to close down. The smaller places are then replaced by big box stores. They're replaced by bigger coffee shops, corporate coffee shops. And it's just unfortunate to see, especially when you see the economic climate of some of my communities. My main streets are drying up, they're shutting down, and they're constantly asking, why is there more paperwork? Why do we have to spend more money? Why do we have to make it harder? And I think this blanket going after business has done completely opposite of the intention of what that is. And that was to get small business to thrive, and they're just not thriving in the state, and they're begging for help, and they're asking for relief, and they're just not getting it. And then at the end of the day, then we add regulations like this on top of them, which do hit the bottom line. I don't know how many of you all, but I actually have to make a payroll, and I have to make sure my employees get paid and their insurance is covered and the bills are paid. I don't think many people have to do that, It's one thing when you have to make sure that your bills are paid and you're taken care of, but when you're taking care of other people and their livelihoods are on your back and the way for them to feed their families and put gas in their car, and then when you get mandates that come down when you have to start to decide, well, since this came down, is it something that's going to hurt my bottom line for 6 to 8 months? Because I think the problem is when we talk from ranching to small businesses, like I represent Pueblo West, and I mean, it's a thriving, growing community, and we're seeing more and more small businesses come online in Pueblo West. But this will crush out the guy just getting his foot off the ground. Right now, they're trying to get startup loans. I mean, capital's hard to come by. We're in a crisis, and this is just one more pressure that they have to face, one more downward pressure not to be able to break through that cement, that crack in the cement, and start that thriving business where they can make a few dollars. Hopefully they can add some more employees and they can grow their business model. And this is just a business killer, and I understand the intent behind the bill. I don't say that I don't understand the intent behind the bill, but at some point we have to put on a tourniquet and stop the bleeding. At some point we have to start looking at these businesses saying, back off a little bit. Because at the end of the day, there won't be businesses. And we see businesses being run out of the state for many reasons. We have businesses that want to dispatch campuses here. We don't have the energy to be able to provide them to do that. And it's just hard to see a state that once was thriving and doing so well economically watch its main industries get put out. And now that we have put a death nail in the energy industry, we're trying to, well, we aren't, but there are people trying to put a death nail in the agricultural industry, and now it seems like want to squash the small business, and I just don't understand that business model. This is real money we're talking about. It's not monopoly money, and like, my good colleague from Albert County has stated more than once, and then the money that's left, it's like a game of hungry hippos in this building to see who can pull those dollars down while the small man struggles. So I'm a huge no on this for business. I'll always stand for business, be a no for business.
Representative Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to reiterate some of the points that were made up here in this well. I think all of my colleagues, especially from Douglas County, made some good points about the free market and letting the businesses decide for themselves what they're going to put in their buildings. I think everything drives a cost, whether it's a small cost or a big cost. All these costs essentially are pushed onto consumers. And so I think one of the things too that we should understand is that in these stations, as one of my other colleagues from Douglas County said, is traces of drugs on these baby changing stations. I think is something that we should keep in mind when it comes to public safety and contamination and making sure that we don't spread these type of traces of drugs and substances that are being used in these type of stations. I will also say, I think if this is something of concern for baby changing stations, we should take it upon ourselves as leaders and legislators to talk to our community and talk to our business owners to see what we can work out instead of having to push through a law. I think this is one of the things that we should understand. At a time when our people send us here to address the cost of living, they can barely afford groceries, they can barely afford to fill up their tanks, their health care, their energy prices. We should be focused on addressing the cost of living, and this policy specifically doesn't address what the voters essentially sent us here to do. And I think we should keep that in mind, is that we have to get serious on addressing the cost of living, and this has one of those death by 1,000 cuts notions, because while it's seen as a small policy, businesses essentially are taking up all of these regulations and mandates and rules that drive up costs. We're seeing businesses leave the state. We're seeing small businesses shut down. We're still recovering from a pandemic to this day. 6 years later, we're still recovering from the pandemic. These costs, the supply chain constraints, the shortages, we still see that today. We can't put that burden on small businesses who are still struggling to come back up, break even, whatever you want to consider it. We should keep them in mind. And so I just fear that these are the type of policies that begin to drive businesses out of the state, which we don't want. We also depend on the revenue that they generate, the jobs that they provide for our communities and our districts. And so, again, I would just say we should just talk to our businesses and people who are impacted in our communities rather than pushing forward a law, because at the end of the day, this is not the problem of government, and for those reasons, I encourage a no vote.
Representative Slaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've said before that I'm a general contractor and a builder. I think I might have to change businesses and go into the diaper changing station contractor business, because this will be a gold mine for those people who are putting in baby changing stations for all of the businesses that we are going to mandate to have these baby changing stations. Now, I agree and I appreciate the heart of wanting to take care of parents taking care of their babies. We all love babies. Well, we all love babies. But you know what? This is a mandate. It will be on businesses. As I was, you all know that I was remote for a while. I had some things that detained me, and I wasn't able to be in person here. And as I was coming down here remotely, and I drove down I-25 past all of the businesses that will be required to have this, and I looked at each of them. I don't know that the equipment rental facility or businesses that are on the side of the road are really particularly concerned about having a baby changing station. I don't know that they're going to have a baby changing station get used more than hardly ever. Maybe once a year, maybe. The RV and trailer sales place, I don't know that they are going to have a baby changing station get used more than once a month. I don't know that that's going to happen, but they're still going to have to install it if we do this. When you mandate, you demand, and when businesses have to meet that demand, they're going to just pass that cost along to customers. As a business owner, when my costs increase, or when another regulation comes on top of me, when my town increases its fees for a building permit, I don't just eat that. I don't make my kids bear the burden of that. I raise the price of the service that I provide. That is exactly what businesses are going to do. Higher prices will absolutely follow this mandate. And we already know that we have huge problems with affordability and cost of living and everything else in this state. We do not need to do this. So that's my first point. As a contractor, it's certainly a concern to me as a person who knows how businesses work. I know that businesses are going to charge more. Second thing, contamination. We have heard many people talk about the fact that these, good representative from Douglas County, he did challenge us all to take 15 seconds and to find out if this is a concern in the state of Colorado. Now, in the age of artificial intelligence, I was able to ask via voice my bot on my phone, is this a problem in Colorado? And it did pop up a handful of examples that were absolutely verified. One of them in particular that I noticed was in Boulder County in a library there. That's a huge issue. The contamination from drugs onto these changing stations is real. I also would mention that I know that it takes almost no drug contamination from certain types of drugs to kill an infant. I know that because about 10 years ago, my 11-month-old niece died from trace amounts of contamination of drugs that she was exposed to. So how many babies have to die on changing stations from the drugs that are being trafficked into the state of Colorado because of our soft on crime stances? So we have the trifecta so far of problems. It's like the perfect storm of government mandates on businesses. We have affordability problems that are going to come because businesses are mandated to do something that they might not necessarily do. We have contamination problems from drugs, which are also a problem that we have here in Colorado because of our soft on crime stance and our drug trafficking that we allow because we're a sanctuary state that just invites everybody and anybody to bring anything and everybody all in and bring your problems with you. It's no big deal. This is the crossroads of the West. You can bring whatever you want, including all those drugs. And then we'll make sure that it's not particularly prosecuted when people are doing these kinds of drugs. And then we'll just make sure also that businesses are the ones that are footing the cost and then passing the cost on to the people that they serve. This, again, I appreciate, as a parent who has 4 kids and has had to change diapers, and as a dad maybe who might not have been as diligent as my wife at sanitizing that surface, I appreciate where the sponsors are coming from with the want and the desire to go above and beyond what is necessary for moms, dads, and babies that need to be changed, because that happens all the time, every day. But I do also wonder, what have we done in this world to make sure that babies get changed for the thousands and thousands and thousands of years that humanity has existed on this earth? Did they have baby changing stations when the Egyptians were building the pyramids? I'm not really sure that they did. Yet, children were able to be changed and cleaned, and parents were able to move on with their day. This bill, for as much as I am sure the sponsors think that this is a, pro-family, pro-help a mother out sort of thing, heart that they may have for it, this is not a good policy. This bill certainly deserves to die much more than babies who might be exposed to trace amounts of drug contamination on these very expensive baby-changing mandated tables. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the question before us is passage of House Bill 1130 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1130 as amended is passed. Mr. Sheba, please read the title of Senate Bill 136.
Senate Bill 136 by Senators Peltonar and Coleman, also Representatives English and Sukla, concerning the reporting of missing livestock to the Department of Agriculture.
All right. Representative English.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 136.
All right. Tell us about your bill, Representative English, or Representative Sukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this bill is very, very simple. In fact, this bill is so simple that I think I can describe it in 1 minute. This bill, what it does is if somebody steals livestock, the brand inspectors, it was brought to us by the brand inspectors, and what the bill does is it lets, in 24 hours, they need to notify the local law enforcement so that we can get it out there and get the livestock back. That's simple.
Representative English.
Sorry, I'm not as simple as my co-prime here. I just got a little bit more to say. But it is a very, very simple bill. And I will just say, the testimony that came forth from some ranchers and down south in my area where I'm at Freedom Acres Ranch. I'm just saying because it's already been said, so I'm not keeping a secret. But they have been dealing with, some of their livestock being stolen. So we started having this conversation around this policy and over the interim. And so this is what we came to. I personally believe that there's more work that needs to be done so we can kind of build on this to put more safeguards on it. But just to wrap it up, I will say that this is definitely a bipartisan policy, which is important, especially when division dominates right now, for us to collectively agree that there's an issue and we come to the table to solve it is very important. And with that, members, I'll ask for a yes vote. So I was quick. I didn't even read the whole thing.
Any further discussion on the bill? All right, seeing none, the question before us is passage of Senate Bill 136. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 136 passes. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1287.
House Bill 1287 by Representatives Basenecker and Brooks, also Senators Kolker and Judah, concerning the continuation of certain regulatory functions of the Division of Real Estate and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations contained in the 2025 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
All right, Representative Brooks.
Madam Chair, thank you. I move House Bill 1287 and the committee report.
All right, so moved. Continue. Speaker Pro Tem Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report, we made a couple amendments on the guidance of stakeholders to the real estate community, a couple of which allowing confidential information to be shared for supervision purposes, clarifying some of the pieces around trust accounts and affiliated business disclosures, and then really taking a look at the policy overall and making sure that the sunset we were moving forward was responsive to stakeholder concerns across the board, recognizing that there are some bigger policy discussions to be had, which I think should be had, but perhaps not in the context of the sunset review. We ask for a yes vote.
Hey, any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is passage of the committee report to 1287. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. All right. The Transportation, Housing, Local Government Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I think that we might be actually getting to the sunset of the sunsets. But yet another sunset. This is for the Division of Real Estate, just very simply strengthening consumer protections and professional standards. We're adopting the recommendations made by Department of Regulatory Agencies and ask for a yes vote.
All right. Any further discussion on the Representative Kelty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my question is on the bill. I mean, I know it's a sunset. I know it starts all over, but it's $6.8 million for this bill. $6.8 million with 43 FTEs. I just want to know because, like, we went through the budget last week or the week before, 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, and so that budget was approved and everything before this bill became a bill that we're seeing today. You know what I'm saying? It was there, but I just want to know, was this money, the $6.8 million, is this reflected in the budget that we passed 2 weeks ago, or is this something that's now going to impact the budget by $6.8 million?
Speaker Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to my colleague for the question. Yeah, the budget does reflect the sunsets as they believe they are introduced. And so the money is already in the budget for this continued regulation of the Division of Real Estate or the real estate industry.
Representative Kelty.
Thank you for that. That helps. I still think that's a whole lot. But my other question is, so the schedule for repeal, I guess, it's 11 years. Was it 11 years on here? And most of the other sunsets, we actually knocked it down from 13 or 11 years down to 7 years. So that way it can be reviewed a little more often, as we probably should as stewards of the money of the people. Is there a reason why? Because we found on other sunsets that regulations and laws and everything else has changed so much from year to year to year. So to have something over a decade long, the amount of changes that could happen in this industry are obviously probably going to happen much sooner than that. Is there a reason why we didn't make it 7 years versus the 11 years?
Representative Brooks.
Chair, thank you. You probably aren't going to get a tremendous argument out of me out of the 11 years. However, there are a couple of things that I feel are relevant to point out. One, we had some substantial give and take between governor's office and real estate to be able to come to kind of where we're at right now, and including the amendments that we have. But then also, an argument that I'd heard recently that I found was fair is that anything over 3 years typically outlives the lifespan of legislators at this point, and so I get that piece of it. That's not a hill I die on, because I tend to agree with you on that. But there's a couple of things to kind of consider.
Representative Kelty.
So with that being said, and I understand what you're saying, would you be open to an amendment changing it down from the 11, like we've done on so many of the other sunsets, with realization that it's probably something that we should look at? It's just a look at more often. Would you be open to an amendment to say 7 years versus the 11 years?
Representative Brooks.
At this point, no. Chair, thank you. At this point, no. If I thought that was a path that could be explored, then would have come here with one ready to go.
Okay.
I appreciate the question, though, and intent.
Any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the question before us is passage of 1287 as amended. All those in favor say aye. All those in favor say aye. There we go. All those opposed, no. All right, the ayes have it. House Bill 1287 passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
All right, you have all heard the motion. We will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Shebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report is under consideration the following attached bills, being the second read thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. House Bills 1130 is amended, 1132 is amended, 1287 is amended, passed on second reading, ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 136, passed on second reading, ordered, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Ryden. Members, you have heard the motion. The question before us is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
No, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes no. Representative Froelich, Ricks, Gilchrist, Joseph, Mabry, Bacon, Mabry, and Story excused. Please close the machine. With 40 aye, 22 no, and 3 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to proceed out of order for third reading.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for third reading. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to lay over Senate Bill 43 and Senate Bill 95.
Until
tomorrow.
Seeing no objection, Senate Bill 43 and 95 will be laid over until tomorrow. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 59.
Senate Bill 59 by Senators Cutter and Ball, also Representative Lindsay, concerning a prohibition on a member of the General Assembly holding multiple elected offices.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 59 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 59 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes yes. Bottoms, Joseph, Joseph is excused. Please close the machine. With 34 aye, 28 no, and 3 excused, Senate Bill 59 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1028.
House Bill 1028 by Representatives Garcia and Velasco, also Senator Cutter, concerning second language diploma endorsements for graduating high school students.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1028 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1028 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes yes. Ricks, Valdez,
Valdez is excused. Please close the machine. With 44 aye, 20 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1028 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1143.
House Bill 1143 by Representatives Ricks and Joseph, also Senator Weissman, concerning information collected for a background check by entities that provide non-employment-based educational opportunities.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1143 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1143 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
No, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes no. Please close the machine. With 42 aye, 22 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1143 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1283.
House Bill 1283 by Representatives Ricks and Joseph, also Senator Marchman, concerning protections relating to the confiscation of individuals' identification documents.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1283 on third reading and final passage.
Representative DeGraff.
Thanks, Speaker. Just, I think it's interesting on this bill that we're talking about people without documentation, taking the documentation from them, basically leaving them in an exploitable and expendable status. And that is one of the big issues that I have with our current immigration process when people are brought over, cartelled over often at the great expense to them, but then leaving them in a position where they're exploitable and expendable. So this bill is to prevent that, but we have a policy that incentivizes that. Now that policy is a carryover, and that is trying to be dealt with. But I think this bill is an interesting example and highlights the problem of leaving people in a permanently exploitable and expendable undocumented status. And now this is, I'm not sure exactly what this is trying to achieve when we have that as our underlying policy.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1283 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
No, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes no. Rep. Brown, and please close the machine. With 41 aye, 23 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1283 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1226.
House Bill 1226 by Representatives Wilford and Froelich, also Senators Weissman and Cutter, concerning measures to reduce emissions from certain electric generating units in the state.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1226 on third reading and final passage.
Representative DeGraff.
Okay, bills like this have cost us 40% of our baseload generating power, what's called dispatchable power, that power that we can actually rely on. And we're trying to increase our electricity. Now, that's just a bad idea. I mean, you have the age-old examples of putting all your eggs in one basket, and that's one example. All electrification is a great example of that. But this focus has cost us, again, in this case, only up till now, $17 billion. $17 billion, over $17 billion, in order to actually lose capacity. Now, does this accomplish anything? Well, when I've talked to the Colorado Energy Office, no, it does not accomplish anything. They cannot point to anything that it accomplishes. What we have is carbon goals. The General Assembly established carbon goals, and then gives lip service to science-based climate goals, and then says all these things somehow need to be cost-effective, but never discuss cost in terms of what they're trying to affect. So right now, again, we know that we've lost $17 billion. We've just and destroyed our landscape. We've paved over lots of areas with heat-absorbing solar panels to cool the earth somehow. And if that makes sense to you, then probably the entire anthropogenic climate change narrative makes sense to you as well, because you're just not paying attention to the science. But the overall benefit...
Careful, Representative.
The overall benefit, again, I would like to emphasize, if you do the math, and if you consider that carbon dioxide is 100% responsible for the 33 degrees Celsius that takes our planet from being an ice ball to habitable, that 33 degrees multiplied by the fraction of our 0.125 billion tons that Colorado generates over the 3,300 billion tons that are in the atmosphere comes to a 0.00125 degrees Celsius. So we have spent over $17 billion, and we have impacted that by a fraction of a percent. So we've lost our baseline power. We're experiencing blackouts because that's what the governor wants. And we have maybe affected the planet's temperature by 0.00125 degrees Celsius. Now, if you look at the logarithmic effect of carbon dioxide, it's probably about the effect, that's probably about 1,000th of that. But just in good faith, let's just call it 0.00125 degrees Celsius. And these programs here are going to add to that cost. Because you're not actually accomplishing anything other than building infrastructure. And that infrastructure, the purpose of that infrastructure is to bolster the bottom line of the investors in the investor-focused utilities, the IFUs, the investor-focused utilities, so that they can earn 9 to 10% on the investment of your money, on the guaranteed return of your money by increasing rates. So Colorado, again, you've lost $17 billion to this superstition. It has a grossly overinflated effect of 0.00125 degrees Celsius, a fraction of that. The Colorado Energy Office cannot speak to any more than that. The General Assembly cannot speak to that. When I queried the General Assembly, the people who signed on to these bills, the answer that I got as to what the climate goals were, that the General Assembly is subjecting the citizens of Colorado to roughly $3,000 apiece so far, and to actually achieve their goals would be another $100 billion at least. Every single representative that signed on to those bills about cost-effective climate goals, etc., could not name or point to a single climate goal. The charlatans in the Colorado Energy Office, nor could they. The Colorado, at the behest of the governor, has 0 climate goals, has 0 idea what this will do other than draining the money out of the citizens' pockets, which is what the program, which is the only climate goal in Colorado, is to tax extract you more and make sure that you will have nothing, and then they'll be happy.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1226 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
No, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes no. Please close the machine. 42 aye, 22 no, and 1 excused. House Bill 1226 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1343.
House Bill 1343 by Representatives Morrow and Clifford, also Senator Marchman, concerning expanding the use of electronic processes in proceedings involving administrative determinations and in connection therewith, expanding the use of electronic filing related to the competency of criminal defendants and in State Administrative Procedure Act proceedings, and making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1343 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1343 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes yes. Please close the machine. With 64 ayes, 0 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1343 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please close. Please read the title to House Bill 1342.
House Bill 1342 by Representatives Stewart K. and Lukens, also Senator Marchman, concerning knowing behavior that lures bears.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1342 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1342 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
No, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes no. Joseph, thank you. Please close the machine. With 40 aye, 25 no, and 0 excused, House Bill 1342 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Members, we are on thirds. Please keep your voices down. Thank you. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1344.
House Bill 1344 by Representative Stuart K. and Bradfield, also Senator Lindstedt, concerning the continuation of the Colorado Podiatry Board and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendation in the 2025 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies to require podiatrists to develop a written plan to ensure the security of patient medical records.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1344 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1344 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
No, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes no. Pascal. Please close the machine. With 51 aye, 14 no, and 0 excused, House Bill 1344 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1052.
House Bill 1052 by Representatives Woog and Stewart R., also Senator Carson, concerning changes to the Victim Rights Act.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1052 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1052 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Weinberg, how do you vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Weinberg votes yes. Smith and Zokai. Please close the machine. With 65 ayes, 0 no, and 0 excused, House Bill 1052 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar to Thursday, April 23rd, 2026.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until tomorrow. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
The House is in recess until later today.